buy a gun, train with a gun, get comfortable with weapons, get comfortable with first aid, get comfortable with radio, get comfortable with like just all manner of like preparedness. Isn't all just about firearms, but it's a lot to do with firearms. And I am fully supportive of people like, you know, getting comfortable and like proficient with firearms, like, because it's just an insane political stance to be like, no, to acknowledge that the police are a violent fascist force, to acknowledge that ICE is modern day Gestapo. Liberals are calling ICE Gestapo, and then meanwhile saying, well, yeah, but they should be the only ones with guns, right?
Yeah.
People shouldn't have guns. Only Gestapo should have guns. Like, do you hear yourself? That's like a liberal point of view, is that ICE is Gestapo, Trump is a Nazi, but they should be the only ones. These state thugs should be the only people with guns. What a fucking brain dead take, dude.
Absolutely.
Like, no,
Yeah.
gun control is racist. Gun control is homophobic. Gun control is transphobic. If you believe in gun control, you are hurting minorities and people of color. And it's as simple as that. And I know that's a pretty strong stance. That's a hot take, but it's true. And you're dumb if you disagree. Thank you.
Because I'm fucking dumb.
Well, there's obviously
kidding,
nuance there. There's nuance there. There's subtlety there. But by and large, if you were just like a ban weapons kind of person,
I don't want to ban weapons.
you are
No,
harming
no.
marginalized communities, because
Yeah, of
police have guns, ICE have guns, and I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's like there's like you said, there's a nuance with gun control. Like, of course, I don't believe in banning all guns. I just believe in like, hey, put some. If he bought a fucking AK, make sure he's on a registry that he has an AK.
Sure, and also like I don't have a problem with waiting lists. If Washington has a 10-day waiting period for guns, fine, whatever.
Yeah.
I hate that Washington banned AKs and ARs. Washington banned all semi-automatic magazine-fed rifles, which is dumb. Like, you can't buy an AR-15 in Washington. And it's like, well, that's why. I mean, I don't know. We're not get into that, but it's dumb. But like, fine, a waiting period, whatever. Yeah, I don't know. I have a problem with like a registry per se. I don't know. I don't think I don't have a problem with showing proficiency. You should have to pass a class,
I feel like,
get a weapons permit, take a safety course, show that you are range qualified and you can perform some basic like functions of a weapon.
Should be able
know how to manipulate a weapon, know how to fire a weapon.
Yes, that's
operate
what I'm
a safety.
about.
Like, you get a driving test.
I think you should also pass a psychology test. If you're
a
sociopath or not.
I don't have a problem with that.
If you're mentally ill, I mean, I'm sorry, but like, I'm not trying to be ableist, but like, there's a certain point where like you're not.
Well, sure, yeah, because that's like
you're
health
not safe.
thing.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying like, oh,
for self harm and stuff. No problem with that too. Yeah, I think that
or harming others.
That raises some problems with like that. Yeah, I don't know. There's some like historical like systemic medicinal racism implied there, because like,
but this is also not the 50s and 60s.
But it's also
anymore,
not the 50s and 60s. But there is still like having a spouse who is in medicine. Like, they didn't have what was the stat? They didn't have black skin suture kits until like 2 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just because we're not in the 50s and 60s doesn't mean that medicine is still not racist.
100%.
So like
100%.
Yeah, so there is like some biases with like mental health when it comes to like black women are largely like today. The stats of black women have the highest, I think it's the highest like mortality rate in childbirth, because they're they're just not taken seriously. When they say they're experiencing pain, they just consider they're just complaining or whatever.
100%. 100%. I meant like a psychopathy test, right?
Sure, yeah, police have to take certain like when you're involved, I think when you're involved in an officer involved shooting, police have to take like they have to get like screened for mental health. Like, they have to like go through screening and stuff.
Yeah.
And obviously that's not helping, because like police are continuing to shoot people left and right. But like, I have no problem with that.
It's just like, if they ask some scenarios. If you were put in the scenario, what would you do? Yeah. And if it'd be like run away, who cares, fuck them, or something like that. If you're seen to be like you have no empathy towards other people,
like, I want to defend my property, like, you know, it's like, I want to shoot that guy for taking my TV, and it's like, okay, well, you know that person's life is worth more than a TV, right? Like, those two things are not equal.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
like, why would you shoot the guy for your TV?
Yeah, so that's another thing too, is like responsible gun ownership meanings like always walk away, like always.
This is like last fucking resort.
It's like, what is it? It's run, hide, fight, right? Like, that's the order of operations in any kind of situation like that. You always run if you can run. You always hide if you can hide. You only fight as a very last resort.
Exactly.
Like,
if somebody's first thing is like fight, and I'll be like, I don't know if you should have.
Don't brandish weapon. Yeah, if you want to defend yourself, if you like daydream about it, then you shouldn't have a gun. Then that's a problem, because like you're that's questionable.
And that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and I have no problem with
that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That to me is gun control.
Sure.
Right. We're controlling like who the fuck should have.
I think arbitrarily banning certain weapons because they're scary and black, like a black AR-15, like that's silly, because like, you know, my Glock 17 here holds 17 rounds, right? 18 if you have one in the chamber. I have a 33 round magazine in there for this. So I have a 33 round magazine for this Glock 17. That means that this Glock 17, in theory, fires more rounds than an AR-15 with a 30-round magazine, right? Which is banned in Washington. Technically, my 33-round magazine is banned in Washington too. I just had it before the ban went into effect, so that's whatever. But my point is this: is that I have 33 rounds in a 33-round Glock 17 or 17 with as it currently is. To the 30 or 20 that are in an AR-15, there is largely not a lot of difference in that. I mean, ballistically, a 5.56 round moves faster and is easier to control from that AR-15 platform than a Glock 17 pistol is. But at close range, somebody who's proficient with both, like, it's not a lot of difference, really, in these 17 versus that 20. So if you want to ban that gun, but not ban this gun, then it's just arbitrary. It's just, you're just picking and choosing things because they're in the medium, because they're scary looking, and because you don't understand them. And that's what I have a problem with, is like people banning guns for not understanding them. And it's the same argument I would say that people would say, like, well, you're banning women's bodies without really even understanding what like an ectopic pregnancy is, or like what, like, you know, like the all of these bans that are happening for abortions and stuff, and these lawmakers clearly don't know anything about a woman's body. They can't even find the clit, and they're banning like abortion and shit. They shouldn't do that.
Absolutely.
But I think also the flip side of that is you also shouldn't ban guns if you don't know anything about them. Like, you shouldn't just arbitrarily choose and pick and choose guns to ban because you think they look scary without, like, you know, like, seriously, in some states, AR-15 is banned, but like a Mini 14 isn't, and it's like almost the exact same gun. It's the same caliber, same shoulder-fired, box magazine-fed, semi-automatic rifle. One is black and one has a wooden stock. So the wooden stock one is less
What would you say
scary.
about like an automatic weapon then?
Well, I have no problem with automatic weapons because they're already heavily regulated. You have to jump through so many hoops. It's like multi-month up to a year-long waiting list. You have to pay a federal tax stamp, to say nothing of the weapon itself being tens of thousands of dollars. So, like, it's practically impossible to get as it is. That's one of the most heavily controlled firearm things in the world, or in America. Silenced, short barrel, like sawed-off shotguns and short barrel rifles, silencers, and then fully automatic. Those three things are classified as NFA items in the National Firearms Act of whatever, 1930 or whatever. And so they're like heavily regulated.
Where do you cut off the line for what kind of weapon somebody shouldn't have? Like,
what do you mean? Like a tank?
Oh, okay. That one's an obvious. You shouldn't have.
Yeah, anything explosive, sure. I think, but I don't think it's a problem to have it. Like,
what about incendiary rounds?
Yeah, no, I don't like I don't know, like dragon's breath for shotguns. Yeah, I don't think anything like that should be allowed. I mean, I guess I don't really have a.
What like a Barrett, like 50 cal sniper?
I don't have a problem with a Barrett. I've always wanted a Barrett. I want a 50 cal. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was like, but why do you need it? Why like also like don't you think that's like, what if somebody like uses it to like kill somebody else like from like a long range or whatever?
Yeah, I mean their purpose is like anti material and anti like vehicle and stuff. Like a Barrett is like if you hit an engine block with a Barrett, it's like gonna take out a car.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Is like where do you value is like that's pretty fucking crazy.
Yeah, I don't know, because
compared to like, oh, I just want.
I see your point of like, yeah, it's just cool to own one and I want one, but like I don't own a Barrett, and because I couldn't afford a Barrett, they're like $8,000. Yeah. So like that's another thing too. Is it's like, I don't know. I don't really have.
I'm just trying to pick your mind. It's
no, I see your point. Like, yeah, no, that's
where's that line of like, okay, maybe you shouldn't have.
Well, I mean, that I would still consider that like up to, I guess, up to 50 or what is it? Is it whatever Lapua 3? Well, that's 50's bigger, I think, than whatever Lapua round. I forget what it's called, but I'm not like a big long range guy. I don't do a lot of long range or like high caliber shooting like that. Yeah, I would consider that like the limit, right? Like anything bigger than that, a 50 cal, that's probably the limit as far as ballistically, like what a civilian should own. Because anything bigger than that is like you're moving into like Gauss rounds or whatever, right? Like I don't know the ballistics of something that big after 50 cal. I'm not an expert in that, but like I think that would be probably the limit as a 50.
What about like ridiculously large extended magazines? Say you somehow
I have a 100-round drum for my AR-15. Like,
well, what I'm saying, so like for example, say
like
you obtain an automatic weapon, right? You went through all the hoops, and now you want to get like I don't know how big the drums go. Let's say the 150.
Yeah, I mean,
so you now have an automatic weapon with 150 fucking magazine, right? Do you see where like I'm coming from? Where like, well, why like if that somehow got into like somebody's hands?
I mean, it already is though. I mean, like these things are legal. Like you can go to any gun show in America and buy a 100-round drum mag for an AR-15. Like,
yeah, but they're not automatic.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's but it is easy to get it. Well, it's possible to get an automatic AR-15, and it's very easy to get a 100-round mag. Just combine those two.
Because there's nothing stopping the guy with like a 150-round mag going into a crowd like a protest, like a fucking Nazi, and just spraying that in like 5 seconds, 150 bullets, and killing like 100 people in like 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Right? What's going to stop some fucking Nazi from like just mowing down entire protesters, changing the mag off and just keep going? Kill like 500 people.
Well, I mean, why hasn't happened yet?
Well, I'm not saying that that's going to. It's because it's hard to get a fully automatic weapon, and it's also probably fairly hard to get that big of a drum magazine. But if it was legal,
the drum mag's easy to get.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, they're like legal. There's
well,
like I said, I have 100.
I just don't trust Nazis with guns.
Well, sure.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, what is that?
What is what?
A giant bee or something. I agree. I don't trust Nazis with guns either, which is why you should have to pass that psych test. Like, which is why, like, I think a political ideology is a little sketchy.
Yeah, but if we're talking about a test in this system here,
yeah, but I would also argue that the Nazis are the ones who already have the guns. So like right wing people have guns. Like this is just they do.
Yeah,
they have. There's more guns in America than there's. What is it like 400? What is it? 400,000 guns in America? Or no, 4 million guns in America?
It's like
400 million guns. I forget what the stat is, but it's like
I think there's almost like 2 guns per person.
Yeah, it's like 1 1/3 gun per person or whatever. And like those are almost exclusively owned by the people on politically that identify with on the right.
Yeah,
they have the guns. If they took their like extremism one step further, it would be like hunting season for trans folks or for black folks, right? So like. My point to all this is that like once they have all of these weapons and they're not out like opening fire in protests yet, but we have seen increasing numbers of political violence, like where people are driving into protests and not being charged with a crime. I forget what city it was. Maybe it was in Florida. A Hispanic man was walking. He was wearing some kind of tactical gear, and he was wearing I think he just had a pistol on his hip, or maybe he had a rifle on him, and somebody opened fire at him and hit somebody random because a right-wing person or like a liberal person saw a leftist with a gun, opened fire on him unprovoked, shot an innocent bystander, and they charged the guy with the gun with murder. Not the guy who shot the person, the guy who he was shooting at. He's the one who they arrested. Yeah, because they're calling it his fault. And Arizona has a similar law. What is the law in Arizona? If a cop shoots somebody in a car and they kill a passenger in a car for like a traffic stop, the driver is charged with murder for.
No, that's just fuck.
It's your fault. I was here in the first place. It's like I wouldn't have shot that person if you hadn't have sped or whatever.
Yeah.
So like you charge the driver with the murder.
That's just crazy.
And that's what happened in Florida. Yeah. And I'll get the facts straight on that. But I think it was Hispanic man was charged with murder because he was carrying a gun and somebody fired at him, killed somebody else, and they charged him with murder, not the person who did the shooting.
Damn. Because
he was like the instigator. And so it's like crazy. The right wing people are already doing shit like that.
Yeah.
Not left-wing people. So I don't see as like removing the ability for left-wing people to defend themselves as a viable strategy to that. Like that's not a viable answer. Taking away their ability to buy guns while they already have guns. Like the right already has guns, saying, well, now the left, you can't get any more guns. Now you have to go up against the right with the guns. I just don't see that as like a viable strategy. I see your point where there's certainly contradictions in there. There's certainly extremes, and it needs to be agreed upon. Like, what is too far? Should people have like fully automatic 50 cals, whatever? Probably not, right? Yeah. Should people be able to have these like anti-tank, anti-personnel like 50 cal rifles? Should people be able to have 150 round drum mags on fully automatic weapons? I don't know. I'm not the person to answer that. I would say yes, but I'm not. But I'm an extremist when it comes to that shit. So like, I think that there needs to be less gun registration or regulations for law-abiding good people. And again, this comes back to like capitalism in general, is you wouldn't have gun violence under these circumstances if things fuck that sentence up. Gun violence happens because of the material conditions, right? Not because of the guns. And
99% of times, and there's that one psychopath.
Yeah, there's always the one psychopath. But I mean, like we have an isolationist country where we have no access to mental health, where we're living stressed paycheck to paycheck. That's why these people break, and that's why they commit these crimes.
Yeah,
they're not committing these crimes because they just want to, because we have guns. Because other countries have almost as many guns as we do, where they have like 0 mass shootings.
Yeah,
it's because we have no social safety nets, no familial relations. We're isolated. We're alone. We're depressed. You know, we're living under extreme pressure of late stage capitalism.
Yeah.
Capitalism is to blame for all of these things, not the guns.
Yeah.
So I would say don't attack the guns, attack the capitalism. Fix the actual disease, not the symptom.
Yeah.
That's where I come from when it comes. That's where I'm from when it comes to gun control.
I get it.
And I get that I'm in the minority here, even among I think a lot of leftists. People, I'm probably like, well, not among leftists, but among like the people that are left of center or center or left of center. They're typically like pro gun control, and I'm in the minority there. I'm there's very few gun control like measures that I agree with.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Maybe that's because you come from Arizona too.
Yeah, Arizona and Louisiana, very gun friendly places. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't grow up around guns. My dad fought in war. My grandfather fought
call off work on Monday or Tuesday and come shooting with me and my friend.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe
we're taking all these pistols and rifles out.
Shit, man. Yeah, like again, I'm not against guns or people having guns. I'm just like I don't know where to draw the line. I haven't made my mind where the line is drawn.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean,
I want evidence based, like what would help, what wouldn't help, you know. And for me, it's like to a certain extent is like what is over the top, what isn't. I want people to be able to enjoy themselves.
Yeah,
I want people to enjoy themselves without thinking about is a psychopath going to be like fucking walking down the street and start mowing down people.
All I want is a couple Glocks, a couple AR-15s, AK-47 with some 30-round mags. Not even fully automatic, because like this is like fully automatic's not like a real thing in like real combat, and like I'm not a veteran, but like from what I understand, like in the military, in the army, you're not really using full auto like anyway. Like no soldier in like
you're
on semi-auto. Yeah, you're on semi-auto. It's like you don't just dump your magazine, because also in the movies it's not like an M4 Rambo dumps a magazine in like 1 second. It's like, you know what I mean? It's just and you're done. Like because they only carry 20 or 30 rounds and it shoots really fast, and so like you just don't go full auto really. So like I don't know, full auto is purely just like for rich white guys to like get their dick hard while they shoot an Uzi in the desert or whatever. Yeah. Like it's not really a practical thing. I
feel people more likely use like 3 or 5 round bursts and stuff like that.
If that, yeah. I mean, like real shooters stay on semi-auto with like, you know what I mean? Like if you're training or whatever, you're using an AR-15 with like, you just get a decent sight, some decent, a decent gun, and like you just go semi-auto. So like I don't really care. That's like all I want. I'm a simple man.
One last question for you.
I want a couple AR-15s, a backup, a couple pistols. I'm happy.
One last question for you on this topic.
Sure.
What do you think about people using like AR-15s, or not even AR-15s, just more like high-powered rifles to go hunting?
There's applications, boar, coyote, like pigs. Those are what you use AR-15s for that round of 5.
I'm talking about like hunting to like eat.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like or like
because like I feel like
I don't know if any animals that you eat that you really use a 223 round for, like which is the caliber of an AR-15. They're usually more used for pest control. They're usually more used for coyotes,
that is
boars,
a whole different
pigs.
situation.
Yeah. You don't really need them for hunting per se.
So that's what I'm saying.
You need them for like hunting adjacent activities, right? Like if you own a farm and you got to clear out like coyotes or something, you need it. That's what it's for.
Well, you're trying to make them burst, right?
Well, they don't burst. That's like a thing Democratic politicians say. Yeah,
I know.
It's just a fast.
You're trying to fucking just obliterate them, right?
I don't have a 223 on me.
Yeah,
but ballistically, a 9mm out of a pistol is a much bigger round than a 5.56 223 out of an AR-15.
Yeah.
An AR-15 has the diameter of a 22 caliber pistol. It's a very small round. It just moves very fast.
Yeah.
It moves 1.5-ish times faster than this bullet. So like that's the only real difference, is that it's speed. It has a lot more penetration because it's so fast.
Yeah.
But it's a really small round ballistically. And that's another reason, like, not to get into the history of like the Iraq and Afghan war, is like that's why a lot of people like were calling for heavier caliber weapons in the early days in the Iraq and Afghanistan wars, because they were up against AK-47s, which shoot 7.62 by 39. It's a much beefier round. AKs shoot a much heavier, bigger round than a 223 does, and so like soldiers were like, our weapons are inadequate compared to these AKs because ballistically it's a relatively small round. It just moves really fast, and so it's really good for taking out like small game predators, like
absolutely.
Coyotes
you're trying to kill them,
like
you're trying to kill them, and you're trying to make sure that they end.
Yeah.
Right. So because like I've seen people like use like heavier rifles, and I don't know what the rifle is, right? But they're like heavier rifles, and they're trying to like hunt down deer, And I'm just
you
like,
wouldn't use a AR-15
yeah,
for a deer.
that seems a bit excessive, right?
Well, it's just not big enough. It's like again, it's like a deer is a big animal. It's like a 400 to 600 whatever pound animal. The last deer I took down, I used a 270, which is still like on the smaller side. That's a 30-06 or maybe a 308, 30-06. Like these are like 30 caliber weapons. These are like basically like 7.62. This is what an AK shoots. Is roughly the 30 caliber. It's I don't want to get into like the science of ballistics, but a 7.62 by 39 is just a shorter caliber to like what the American NATO 7.62 is a 7.62 by 51 is like that's a 30 caliber round. So that's like the American NATO version, and the 5.56, the AR-15 is the NATO version of like a rifle round. Compare that to the 7.62 by 39, which is what an AK shoots. It's ballistically they're just all different weapon or bullets, but a 30 caliber is enough to take down a deer. It does enough damage to heart and lungs with a good shot to the heart. Like the last deer I shot, sorry if you're anti-hunting or whatever, but the last deer I shot was a few years ago, but I will argue it was a perfect shot. You go right, kind of into their shoulder blades, and I went through both lungs and the heart, and the deer just dropped, right? And like it was a quick, I mean, I had to track him in the woods for like 30 feet, right, as he like kind of limped, but he bled out very fast. He died almost instantly because it was a good shot. Because I'm a good shot, it was a good weapon. It was a Remington 700 firing 270 round. I had a nice Leopold optic. It was a good shoot. It was a good shot, and that's fine. A 223 wouldn't do enough damage, and it would just go through those organs and like leave a very, very small hole. Because again, it's a 22 diameter bullet. It's a very small bullet. I don't think like you probably could kill a deer if you like shot it enough times or like shot it in the head, but that's really inhumane and also like not efficient. Like you don't aim for the head when you're deer hunting. You aim for the heart and lungs. If you hit them right behind their shoulder blade, it goes through all heart. If they're broadside to you, you hit them right behind their shoulder blade, it goes through the heart and lungs, and they'll just drop. That's where you hit a deer with the arrow, with a shotgun, with like a slug or whatever, or a high caliber rifle. Nice. And a 223 5.56 AR-15 just isn't really designed for that. That's not its purpose.
All right, guys.
This has been Hunting Talk with Ty.
All right, guys. Well, you can see that we talk about some serious fucking topics around here that probably not only demonetize us on YouTube or whatever we place our stuff on, but also
I don't think we'll get demonetized.
But also might put us on some lists, right?
That part will probably, yeah.
Yeah. So please, if you ever have the chance, share, like, subscribe, comment, do whatever you can to get our content out, because YouTube is not going to push it out. YouTube hasn't pushed anything we've placed out in quite a while.
YouTube hates us.
Yeah, they do. And so please, if you love our content, do your due diligence and help brothers out. It was a good time having you here today. I hope you enjoyed our conversation. Sorry for the tech difficulties.
No, they won't know that. That part will be, I guess, cut maybe.
Yeah, maybe we'll see. And yeah, so don't forget that we have a free Patreon. It's going to be in the link below. We also have a Discord that you can join. We have our content on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter,
Revolutionary Rhetoric, wherever you get your socials.
Absolutely. It's all going to be below.
Email us if you want one of those patches. Email us, revolutionaryrhetoric@gmail.com. Give us your information. Just show us that you're some kind of follower or subscriber. Or better yet, if you want one of those patches, leave a 5-star review on the podcast, your podcast app of choice. Those reviews really help us out when we're trying to get our content out to other people. Sharing, commenting, and subscribing and liking is how the YouTube pushes the videos in the algorithm. Leaving high star reviews on podcast apps, that's how those push it out to market. That's how they get recommended. So we appreciate the love there. We talked about Patreon, Discord, all of our socials. Email us for a patch. Go out there, get organized, join some mutual aid organizations. Give go help out your local community. And if you're out there protesting, stay safe. Definitely wear a mask. Wear a black mask. Wear sunglasses. Cover any tattoos. Wear black clothing. Everything should be nondescript. You should have nothing that's like easily identifiable to police or law enforcement or anything. So be safe out there.
Nice talking to you guys.